MMA Now, powered by Film On TV Network.
I'm David Cano with Film On TV's MMA Now, and right now we're in Las Vegas, Nevada, the fight capital of the world, and we're joined with the legendary Mr. Jacob Stich Duran. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, David. Thanks for having me on board, man. And you're right, this is the boxing capital and MMA capital of the world. And, you know, I made the move here 20 years ago to do what I'm doing, and here I am talking to you now, man. So it's a good place to be.
Can you put this fight, Kovalev versus Ward, into perspective? I've talked to a few people around here, and they've said that they don't know how this pay-per-view is going to do. They don't think it's going to do over 500,000, but of a fight of this magnitude, they're both 30-0, undefeated, both champions. How do you see it going with the fans?
You talk about on the economical version of it? I don't know. You know, that's something I don't get involved in and all that, but I guess I can say that, you know, somebody like Andre Ward and Kovalev, you know, do they need a little bit more marketing to go their way to, you know, get them where they should be? And speaking in behalf of Andre Ward, you know, as talented as he is, a gold medalist, a great kid that's really could represent any product, any place, anytime. And he should be in the Wheatie commercials. He should be doing commercials for Coca-Cola. He should be doing all this. You know, I know he has Jordan, but this kid, you know, he's an example of what you want to do when you become a pro. So it's not happening. Maybe after this big fight here, maybe he'll get the recognition that's due to him.
Can you talk a little bit? I talked to Donald Ames, who's one of Andre's cornermen, and he said that you went in the gym, you were getting ready to wrap his hands. I think this was last week or so, and Andre went ahead and started doing them because that was his routine, because he called it being locked in. What do you see from Andre when you're there in the gym with him?
100% discipline. You know, and the thing about it is, yeah, you're right. You know, normally I'll go in and I'll do the couple of reps before the actual dressing room fight, and on this one, he said, no, you know, I'll do my own. And I'm sitting there looking at him. I said, you know, Andre, you're doing a pretty good job, brother, but, you know, why do you do it? And that's why. He said it keeps him relaxed and it keeps him focused, and I understand, you know. So, you know, what was working in the gym is one thing, but come fight night, then I'll be able to give him as I call it in the mixed martial arts, I'm giving him the KO rap, the knockout rap, you know. So he has that confidence in enough for me that I don't have to do a dress rehearsal with him. I'm working with Clarissa, the young two-time gold medalist, and I've wrapped her hands already because I'm working with her also, and I'll do it again tonight because I haven't done it with her, but I pretty much have it locked in with Andre, and he feels real comfortable that I'm doing that. But he's 100% focused, man. You know, just to get in there, he's not doing any talking. The gym is quiet. The way it should be, and I'm looking at his techniques and his timing and his balance, and I was telling him, I said, you know, Andre, me as a martial artist, I've studied the feline. There's no better balance than the feline, and the way I saw you moving around, it's tremendous, man. You're right on point, and that's such a key element in any kind of sport, is to have balance and timing, and that creates power.
Who could you compare him to in the past 40, 50 years of boxing? Is there anyone that you compare Andre Ward to?
No, not at all. You know, and you know, I'm writing my second book, From the Fields to the Garden too, right? And I was telling Andre, there's a story that I put in there, but I said, you know, Andre just doesn't look like a fighter. You know, he's not your typical fighter. He should be playing NBA basketball, right? But when it comes to being self-motivated and having a game plan, he does all that. And on this fight here, you know, he's not looking at rounds 3, 4, 5, or 6. He's looking at the first minute of the first round, the second minute of the first round, third minute of the first round, and then he'll go into round 2. That's how disciplined he is.
Sergey Kovalev called him a dirty fighter. He talked a little bit about it at the press conference. Where does that stem from? I know that they're going to the Bika fight, but Andre, I've never heard it in his repertoire to being a dirty fighter. No,
not a dirty fighter. You know, if you come at him, and actually in the book I also write about when he fought Edison Miranda, you know, he got cut early in the fight, and I think it was like a headbutt. Don't know if it was intentional or not. You know, he was taking some low shots and all that. Andre gave him back to him. You know, but it's not like he comes in with dirty tactics. By all means, he could hang with them if they challenge him to that type of technique. He'll respond back. You know, I'm sure he's capable of doing that, but that's not his intentions.
The media is talking about Andre needs to come in to win this fight and stay away from Kovalev. Don't fight him from the outside in because of Kovalev's power. I was under the assumption that he might use his boxing and fight from the outside. How do you see this fight going?
I don't know. You know, it's tough to say, and you know, one punch changes everything, and But I would think Andre would do good in the inside. Kovalev, his power punching comes at a distance, and to cut off the corner, definitely need to work on angles. But it's tough for me. And when I work fights, I don't look at the strategies because we're all armchair quarterbacks. And I think Kovalev said that is you and Andre said that. The media, the promoters, they're not in the ring, and I understand that. So it's tough to be an armchair quarterback. But in that aspect, I just see Andre. He's going to adjust accordingly. And the thing is, can he take a shot? If he takes a shot, I think we're doing real good.
Let's switch gears a little bit to MMA and boxing. Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, they've been in the news. They're always in the news. Are you surprised that the media is paying this much attention to a potential boxing match between the two?
Oh, yeah, it totally caught me off guard. It surprised me. When you're talking $100 million for Conor McGregor, that probably speaks as well as Floyd when it comes to promoting themselves, it brought a lot of attention to the game, right? So guys have been asking, being that I'm in both the mixed martial arts and boxing, what I thought of the idea, and my idea that if they were to go, and I've always said it all along, mixed martial artist doesn't have a chance against a boxer if the mixed martial artist comes into the boxing ring to box only, because there's two different things. That's like you playing softball and coming into my game, now I'm playing baseball. It's two different levels of competition. Conor McGregor's a knockout artist. In boxing, you get dropped, you get an 8 count. In the mixed martial arts, you drop somebody, you pound on them. So those strategies will definitely be in effect. But I see Floyd just taking them to school.
In a pure boxing match.
Yeah, in a pure boxing match, and the promotion would be, the hype would be bigger than the fight, no doubt about it. But the hype will be great.
Are you surprised by what Conor's been able to do, 2 belts at the same time, and just being able to do to Eddie what no one else has done?
Yeah, I was surprised, actually, because I've worked with Eddie. I've worked with Conor. As a matter of fact, the first time I worked with Conor was in Stockholm, Sweden, and when he won his first fight. And I said, man, you fight like a Mexican. You're the Irish or the Mexicans of the European side of the water, but he's a tremendous fighter. And the way he dismantled Eddie Alvarez, just to me, it just gave me a whole new idea of him. Got a total respect for him as a fighter.
Why do you think MMA has been able to propel over boxing? I know Kathy Duva even said today that make sure you go out and tell your friends to watch Kovalev versus Ward, to combat MMA, which I think was a bad metaphor of comparing a reason to watch a good fight. You watch a good fight because it's a good fight. But it's clear that boxing, other than their household pay-per-view names, are not doing well.
Yeah, marketing 101. It's marketing 101 is really the whole start to it, and credit to the UFC for doing a tremendous job on what they've done, but also the competition. They're right off the bat, they're putting the best with the best. And it's not here where you get to choose and pick whoever you want to fight in boxing. So it's a combination of good competitive fights, and it could be the beginning of the fight, or it could be the last fight on the card. They're all good fights, and that's something that boxing needs to improve on and match the best with the best.
Big question: will we see Stich back in the UFC at some time in the future?
Well, that depends on that, and it's funny that you asked that, David, because now that this new company bought the UFC, people have asked, because right now, on a marketing aspect, it would be a good idea because they're getting so much heat. We're laying all these people off, and really just kind of, they're not going the direction that they were going before. So they need a little boost of positive energy, right? Well, what would be better than to bring Stich back, right? So that's a question that people have been asking me, and the question that I guess you asked me is, would I be interested? And I'm always available to listen to anybody's proposals. But if I did go back to the UFC, it'd have to be under totally different rules and a different program.
Now, do you ever get mixed up with Edward James Olmos?
All the time, brother. In fact, I did a movie with Edward James Olmos. I had a little cameo. It was an MMA movie with Anderson Silva. Here at the D, we did an actual filming, and people were freaking out. And the first time I saw Edward James Olmos was when Anderson Silva fought Chris Weidman. I knew he was going to be here at the MGM, and I wanted to meet him because I'm a big fan of his, being Latino, right? Well, I'm in the dressing room wrapping the fighter's hands, and one of the UFC staff says, "Hey, Edward James almost wants to meet you." And I say, "No shit, I want to meet him, right?" So I walk down, I turn the corner, and he's standing like this, and we start laughing, man, because we look so much like each other, So it was great. He spoke to my mom, and just a good man. But it happens all the time.
So if they were ever to do a biopic about you, he would be playing you in the movie?
Man, he's older than me, brother. Come on, man. You got to give me some credit, man. He's older than me.
And let's just round out the end of the year. Ronda Rousey comes back. Dana says she's the biggest star in UFC history. It's kind of obvious that Conor's probably the biggest star ever. But what do you think of her thoughts already about retiring? She says this may be her last fight. And the mentality and psyche of a fighter, what's your thought process?
You know what? Bless her heart, man. The bottom line of this game, and you guys are doing this documentary on brain concussions and all that. The bottom line for any athlete in this game or any contact sport is to make a lot of money where you could retire and leave the game with all your faculties. And Ronda Rousey has a lot of other different avenues that she could choose and still be within the mix. And, a lot of respect for all these fighters, David, because they take a beating day in and day out and day in and day out in the gym. And that's the hardest part. But, this sport, combat sport's not like any other sport. This is a year-round sport. It's not a seasonal sport like football, baseball, and basketball. So these guys take a beating, and Ronda don't want to fight. Bless her heart, man. She's done her time. So I wish her the best.
And last, 2017.
Man, you said that last time already.
I know, I lied.
Already?
I lied.
Here we go. One more.
2017.
Yeah.
Is there anything, where do you see MMA and boxing going? Is there any fights on the horizon? I know you don't pick fights, but anything that you want to see? Something that like when we talked to Boom Boom, he wants to see Canelo and Triple G and kind of put it on Canelo for not taking that fight. But from your perspective, is there anything you would want to see?
Nah, man, I see them all. And to me, it's just to be in the mix is it makes me happy. However the fights come, whoever fights whoever, for me just to be there is always a good feeling. If not, then I watch it as a fan. But no, this game always seems to produce great fights at certain times, and you just let them come, man. And as many fights as I work, I just kind of put it on cruise control and wait and see what happens. But I expect 2017 to be a good year.
You listen very well.
Yeah.
One more question. That's the name of this interview. One more question. That right there is Mr. Jacob.
My thing is I go one more round, so it's say one more round. Here we go.
That's Mr. Jacob Stich Duran, and we'll have a lot more fight coverage here from Las Vegas.